All right, y'all, we're back here for another special episode of Chasin Birdies on a Monday, Labor Day, paying homage to all the military folks out there. Thank you for your service, and today's guest did just that, which we'll get into. My man.
What's going on?
Oh, man,
everything good
weird.
your way, bud?
Yeah,
I mean, I'll tell you what, you're working hard, bud. 2 episodes in 4 days drop or 5 days drop. Good job on you, man. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, bud. Thanks for waking up to do this.
So, today's episode brought to you by Lynx Brewing. Make sure you go check them out at lynxbrewing.com. As I have been saying, there's new batches of Lynx Brewing ready to ship and to be drank.
So crisp.
Like we talked about on the last episode with Ben Carr, chip it and sip it. He probably could have used that after he chipped that in, and I probably would have scalded that chip shot. So, order yourself some. I promise you, it makes you chip better. So, lynxbrewing.com.
Boom.
Today's guest, dude.
Incredible, man.
I love that you tell military personnel thank you for your service, and they're like, it's almost like, what do you mean thank you for your service? Like, we love this. We love doing this. We love putting our life at risk.
I mean, dude,
it's a mentality, dude, and I just don't have.
No, it is. And to be a PJ, so Mark Brant is today's guest, and Mark Brant was a PJ in the military. And PJ is AKA a Pararescueman. They're part of the Air Force Special Operations, and basically they jump out of planes and have to swim through all kind of crazy shit and land in some weird ass places and be accountable for that. And it takes big nuts to do that. So hats off to you, Mark. And
the most impressive part about that is, you think about it, Bash, one wrong move and you're not here. You're not here to tell this story. And so you got to take every minute of every day. You know how mentally stressful that has to be. I mean, think about that, bud. I'm stressed over a 3-foot putt. And my man's jumping out of planes, saving people in water. And I mean, it's just like you got to put life into perspective a little bit. And he did just that. I was very impressed with this episode that we have coming to you.
A little special drop.
I mean, again, proud to be an American, man. Proud to be American. Mark, thank you for your service. I know you said thank you, but again, we can't thank you enough, my man.
So, real quick, I'm munching on.
What are you eating, bud?
So Chasin Birdies, new proud partner with player brand Biltong. That's Biltong. Biltong is a style of jerky that originated from South Africa. And player's brand Biltong is basically for golfers who want a good snack during their round. So head on over to playerbiltong.com, and at the checkout aisle, which I call aisle, I've said that before, but you know what the hell I mean. Type in Birdies 10 and you'll get 10% off your order. Great flavors of jerky. It's great pick-me-up snack throughout the day. Take it on the course, whatever. So again, shout out player brand Biltong. It's a great snack to have in your golf bag. Birdies 10 at the checkout. And, delicious.
Yes, go over, get yourself some, type in Birdies 10, 10% off. Again, dude, it's so convenient. You just grab it, go, throw it in your golf bag. I threw a pouch in my bag. I got one in my travel bag for when I'm on the airplane. It's just easy and it's healthy. So I like that it's not firm, dude. It's like a moist beef jerky. Anyways, bud. I mean, we're beef jerky experts now. So let's roll it on over to our boy Mark, and let's talk a little bit about being a PJ.
All right, boys. Enjoy this one. All right, everybody. We're back here for another episode of Chasin Birdies, and I'm excited about this one today, bud.
This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah. We got a guy on here, and by the way, Mark, thank you for coming on. Mark Brant joining us today, Air Force Special PJ. I probably screwed that up. Special Tactics Pararescueman.
Yes,
and
that's right.
Reading about that, Mark, is just unbelievable. I mean, it's like fearless. So thank you for coming on.
And first and foremost, I'm very grateful and honored that you guys gave me the opportunity to come on here. Listen to the podcast and to be part of it. And some of the guests you've had on here are probably a lot cooler than I am, but I'm really, really grateful you guys gave me the chance. So.
Well,
don't
first
know about
off,
that.
thank you for your service. I mean, that's way cooler than anybody that we've had on. So, and I think that they would all agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about, you I guess it would be you're in the military. You were in the military.
I was. I'm actually about a month and a half, like completely out now, like totally civilian. I had a little bit of, was going to do some short time in the reserves, and kind of just at the point I was at, the writing was on the wall. Like that part of my life was like, I'd written all the chapters and was ready to chase something new. So as of a month and a half ago, some change, I'm completely out of the military and pursuing being a professional golfer.
That's incredible. So, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
As a youngster, do you wake up and say, I don't think too many kids think they want to be in the military and jumping out of planes with a parachute rescuing people. So tell us a little bit about how you got into that realm of work.
I guess as a kid, you always play the video games, you see the movies and, things like that. And you're like, wow, that's really cool. And you kind of find yourself in a point where you realize like, okay, I can actually try and do this. And that was a big thing for me. I was involved in a lot of sports growing up and played golf. Golf and baseball were the two big ones. I ended up playing golf at Murray State University in Kentucky and on their team. And, I always still had that little thing in there. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And something to be noted was I actually, between that and going there, I looked at and actually went to and visited and got an offer to go to West Point to play golf and possibly baseball.
Billy Ray Clevenger.
Pardon me?
Do you remember the coach's name?
I think, that actually does sound familiar.
Billy Ray Clevenger. He recruited me as well. I had no chance, bud.
Yeah, we talked about it. And I think I was mature, as far as the military is concerned. I think, especially with West Point, any of the military academies, like that is, I think I was mature enough to know that I was too immature to do that. And I kind of thought, like, if you want to do college, do golf, enjoy it. If you want to do the military down the road, like that'll still speak to you and you'll be able to do it. You'll have your degree and be able to maybe have a few more options to navigate. But, at the time I was like, I really wanted to play Division I golf and kind of do that and see it and enjoy college. And I figured I would kind of realign my priorities at the end of that. And I did. Still kind of had this lingering for the military. I moved to Florida after I graduated. I lived in Daytona Beach and it's weird. I kind of was a little bit burned out on golf and we'll get into this later, kind of how the military's changed my view on golf. But I was kind of like, well, it's now or never. Obviously this was, early 2008, like the war on terror is turning and burning pretty hard. Mm-hmm. So I was like, it's now or never. I can play golf when I'm in my 30s. I can't go to a special operations selection course and get my ass kicked. Well, I could, but your options are your likelihood is way more when you're in your 20s than your 30s. So I was like, it's now or never, and I did it, and I'm super glad I did it. It was definitely the pinnacle of my life, and I, people say thank you for your service, like in a way, like thank you for your tax dollars. Like I got to do some really really cool stuff, some really cool training, and know when I went to bed at night that I made an impact to try to make the world better.
So many questions, but the main question is the training to get to that point. I mean, it has to be rigorous, man. Like they're not just letting some Joe Schmo come in and jump out of a plane. Like, what's that like?
But you got to do 50 push-ups. I don't know if you could do it.
Well, that's part of the reason why West Point was out, bud.
And especially any of those special operations schools are pararescue, indoctrination, BUDS, SEAL training, the Green Beret Q course. Like everyone always does, what's harder? Like, dude, you're all going to get destroyed there. And you just kind of got to be ready for it. And, I trained super hard. I ended up going into technically a reserve spot at Patrick Air Force Base at the 308 Rescue Squadron. And the cool thing about that was you can be active duty, full-time PJ, do your stuff, or guys that have jobs, guys that want to do the reserve thing can kind of 50-50 do what they wanted. At that point I was, first of all, I just wanted to make it and make it through. But that was kind of cool in that you really have some flexibility. But they, the unit there, I did their little tryout, and they put you through the ringer before they send you there, because they don't want to invest their time and money in somebody that's going to go to selection and quit the third week. But yeah, to get back to your question, it was you're maybe trying to prove something to yourself or whatever, someone else. I don't know what it is, but you just kind of go there and you're like, you know what, I'm going to see what I can do.
So kind of this two-part question. Obviously, I don't know if the Marines are associated with any route that you went on, but secondly, I know
they're completely different.
Completely different. Okay.
Yeah.
You going on this journey to become a PJ, what was more, because I was reading about the kind of the criteria to be qualified for this, and a lot of it is swimming too, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would be, and that's what I want to hear from your perspective. What was more intimidating to you? Was it having to jump out of a plane and not know where you're going to land, or swim in unknown chartered waters, so to speak? I mean, that has to be a little unnerving.
Yeah, and that's kind of what can kind of get you to the point, because you jump out of planes after. Like, they're not going to spend the money to teach someone how to parachute at night with a bunch of gear, with a bunch of stuff, with a bunch of money put into you. They're not going to waste that money on somebody that's going to quit selection. So that happens kind of at the end of the once you've kind of been weeded out, if that makes sense. And the swimming thing was big, because I grew up in the kind of middle of nowhere, Illinois. I was an okay swimmer, but you've got to be able to swim very well. You also have to be, probably the biggest thing for pararescue versus any other special operations course is you have to be really comfortable being uncomfortable underwater. That's one of the big stressors they put to you at that course. It's like, yes, you have to swim, but you're also going to have to swim underwater. You're going to tie knots underwater. You're going to have to put on dive gear, on a breath hold, go down, take it off in a calm state, come back up, take one breath, come back down, put it on, swim with instructors holding you on the water. And I think that is to me, that's such a brilliant way to see how you can focus through feeling like you're going to die. In a way. It's, you're surrounded by PJs, by the expert medics. They're going to make sure that doesn't happen, obviously, but you have to be ready to black out at the bottom of the pool to show, like, hey, I want this bad. And I always thought that was a cool part of selection. So, as I said, I wasn't the best swimmer. When I moved to Florida, I actually got a part-time job working at Volusia County Beach Patrol as a lifeguard, just to get better at swimming. Like, I had to train to pass the swim to do that, and then got better at swimming, knowing, like, hey, I got to be better in the water to do this military route. It was a fun job. It was super cool. But that was a big thing you can teach to yourself, is what you're capable of. Because if you're underwater and you run out of air and you pop and freak out and bolt to the surface, like, that's a failure to train. And you do that too much, like, hey bro, you're out. So that was really big at learning that the human mind, human body is capable a lot of times so much more than we give it credit for.
I mean,
wow.
Hats off. So question, did you ever black out at the bottom of the pool?
I did.
Water.
I did. And it was really interesting because, like I said, when I went to the training that we did before I went to pararescue indoctrination, like, that's kind of like you had to kind of almost, they want to see you do that to kind of see, like, hey, is this dude down or not? And in a way, at selection, it was kind of like, from the old days, looked at as like, yep, this dude's like good to go, he's committed. Whereas now they're like, oh, it's a, kind of a safety thing, which I guess I understand that, and I did it. I did black out, and I did it with an instructor messing with me. Like, I'm tying knots underwater, and this, comes up, unties it, he messes with me again. I tie a knot. I tie it right, he undoes it, and I tie it one more time, and I realized that the instructor ran out of air, and he goes up for air, and in my brain, I started to go a little, like, euphoric, which you kind of do. You kind of feel like woozy and and not even woozy. It's like a really weird feeling, and kind of the gray just starts coming in. And I realized that instructor went up and came back down, finished the knot, checked it. And as I went to like go to the surface, I woke up, dude, slapping me on the side of the head on the side of the pool. And that was it. Get pulled out of the pool, get some oxygen. You're good to get, instructor comes over and says, "Hey, are you good to go?" All right, get back in there, suffer some more. But so kind of did it. It wasn't that big of a deal. But
no, that's why, and I'm totally fascinated by this because it's just it's wild to me that we have men like you who actually put themselves in a line of service and duty, and it's like so amazing to have that because literally it's life or death. I mean, you are walking a fine line. Yeah. One wrong move, you're dead. Now, on the second question I had there, when you're jumping out of a plane, I don't know what elevation, you could hit on that, but if you ever go off course, if that makes sense, how are you trackable? I mean, do you have phones? Do you have GPS on you? Like if you land somewhere in the middle of nowhere, I know these are probably all like, stationed calls, so to speak, but if that happens, how do you get rescued?
If you're just in training, usually in training, we always have devices on us. We'll have track and even downrange or in training, you got Blue Force track. You got ways to like, hey, this is you can see it in movies like Blue Force trackers, whatever. You do have that. We have a way to keep accountability on every person that either overseas or in training stateside. Exits an aircraft. We'll have strobes. We have strobes that we can only see with our night vision to keep track of people. Like actually I ended up doing this one time. And one of our standard operating procedures is like, if you see a stranded jumper or a jumper that might be injured and kind of flying off course, like if you're the closest person to them, you're going to go fly with them, try to land where they are. And that happened one time in training with someone that had a really bad opening. Basically the canopy didn't open and they fell a lot lower altitude. And a lot of times what we do is called HAHO, which is high altitude, high opening, meaning, up to, 20, sometimes 25,000 feet or so, give or take, you can exit the aircraft and you're going to use that parachute's ability to glide with the wind. And, you can miles and miles and miles, not going to get too in the weeds with it, but you basically exit the canopy in a different city, a different place, different airspace, and fly to your target. And that happened. This person was really low, and there was no way that they were going to make the intended target. So, and that's another thing we always had was kind of waypoints. We had contingency plans. If this happens, I'm doing this. If this happens, I'm doing this. And you train those so much where 100% they become like instinct. Like, okay, this happened. I'm going here. You can pull up we usually had little panels that had our GPS, our devices, our compass and everything at night so we can navigate. And that happened. I noticed that this person was not going to make our intended landing zone, flew over and landed with them. And that was kind of that's a cool thing in the military is you always know you're not just going to get left. There's always going to be somebody come out and that's what drew me into pararescue. Like we're willing to die to the last man to get somebody back when they're having the worst day of their life. And that was like really, really what kind of drew me into that field.
So how many of there are you on the plane?
On the plane?
Yes.
It would depend on the plane. There have been there's different kind of ways pararescue is utilized too. There's a jump mission in Afghanistan where two dudes exited and there was a pilot that punched out and they knew where the pilot was and they just had two guys jump. They maneuvered themselves as a two-man element to the pilot, stabilized him and moved to an extraction point. There's also, we integrate, and that's what I got into later in my career. We do integrate with other special operations forces, SEAL teams, SF teams, and things like that. So when you're there, you're part of that group. And at times there can be two planes full of, chocks of dude's ready to get on the ground and do it. So there could be 24 people, 30 people in the plane. There could be 4. It really varies due to the mission and kind of how you're being utilized.
It's crazy, man.
Wow. No, it is. I mean, yeah, that's fascinating to me. That whole world of what you lived in for years is
just different. It's different, and to me, it's been very, very, very odd, interesting in a way sometimes to have that chapter kind of close, because you're always going to miss it. And just as much as jumping out of planes, shooting guns, doing all that, blowing stuff up, doing that, you miss the camaraderie and the brotherhood you had, which it never goes away. But you're not day in, day out, showing up with some really high caliber people. And even then, like our support, not just the operators, like our support, like we're very fortunate to always work with the best and brightest and the people that want to go do the mission, and are always goal oriented, chasing being better. So that was, that's kind of what's driven me to do this, go down this route, is like, I want to see what I can do down a completely different vector and see how good I can be in a different discipline. Did you spend any time internationally? Yes. Yeah, a fair amount. Yeah.
Afghanistan.
Yeah, we went, I did 4 combat deployments. I'd say those are the 4 deployments that, like, we actually went and did some stuff, like a couple times went overseas for, pretty low key type of things, not 4 months at a time. But I went to a lot of places, some great, some not so great. Spent a fair amount of time overseas.
So when you were doing this, are you allowed to have your cell phone on you, or is that kind of like a tracking device for?
Oh no, in certain places, certain situations, that's a death wish. You cannot, it's so not to get way down the weeds, but like, you're
right.
This random phone pops onto a cell phone tower in this country, like everybody, it.
That's insane.
Most, and honestly, like when you talk about like the real squirrely type of, alone and unafraid out there stuff, like what can get you in the most trouble is having attributable stuff to yourself, or hitting a cell phone tower that you shouldn't, having a phone turn on when you shouldn't, having some sort of location services. So we were very, very, we got training in it.
Wow.
So you just don't have some idiot turning on a Wi-Fi hotspot in the middle of nowhere. But you have to be pretty disciplined with it. And when we went and did missions, nobody's taking their phone out there and getting selfies on target. Like we would take phones that were made for us, or make, they call them ATAC, like basically it's a cell phone that has a lot of the information and stuff you need. We take that with us.
So and that's the part that I'm catching on. It had to be exhausting yet rewarding, because you're watching every single move that you make. You make one wrong move, that could cause harm to, your brothers
buddy.
in arms and all that.
Yeah, especially being a medic, like that drives you to be good at your job, because at the end of the day, like, especially, if you're working with the other units, like you just want to go out there and get your gun on, smash, do some cool stuff, like not have to treat an American that's now in your hands, or anyone that's in your hands, but that drove you to be good at it. Like, if I'm a bad medic, then I'm absolutely one of the biggest liabilities that I could be when people are going to trust me to do it. That really drives you to be. It's the same thing with golf. Guys that play professional golf, like you have to be. You can't just haphazardly go about it and say, "Oh, this is probably good enough." You have to, if you're doing stuff like that, you have to be pretty locked on.
Well, that's a great segue, because the whole purpose of Chasin Birdies is we are all chasing birdies in life.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you've chased many birdies in life, but the common denominator between you, Mark, and Jonathan and I is not jumping out of planes or the amount of push-ups we could do in a minute, certainly for Pep's sake, but it's getting out on that golf course and enjoying that, enjoying the same camaraderie over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. So let's talk a little bit here now about the great game of golf.
Well, I have a question right off the bat. Is you played golf at Murray State, and I played just down the road from you guys at Marshall University.
Oh, okay.
So, what years were you at Murray State?
I was there 2005 to 8.
Yeah, so I was 04 to 08. I look like I was 1996 to 2000, but I was 04 to 08.
Don't be true to yourself.
Yeah, we had the Marshall Invitational always at Guyan Country Club. You guys always played in it, so I'm sure we crossed paths, which, again, that's the crazy thing about golf. We've probably seen each other before.
It's the same thing as the military, too. Like, you have, I've got Army, Navy, Marines, whatever, that I know, and then you'll see them down the road 3-4 years. Like, I may have just spent a month with this person or a week with this person or a couple days with this person, and then lo and behold, I would see him again 2 years later in a completely different country. And same as golf. Like a lot of paths can cross. Like, it's very interesting. A good friend of mine, one of my best friends, and a Corn Ferry Tour player named Nick Lindheim. His wife was living with one of my best friends, who was a pro surfer, but also big into golf. They got married, and then his brother-in-law was a Navy dude, and he and I met, deployed, and spent some time deployed together. And
it's crazy.
And it was like, wait, you guys met in the country X, and yeah, I know him. And it's just very weird how small the world is, and the circles of connection can be.
So when you're, again, this is tying a golf question into the military, but when you're in the military, do you ever think to yourself, like, what in the hell am I doing? I was playing college golf. I had the life, and at this point, I could die any minute.
Yeah, no, I really liked, I loved what I did. It was cool. To me, it was very, very fulfilling, and it's still, even looking back, it's still fulfilling. Knowing what I did, I've kind of moved into something different. And here's the thing: like, guys that leave the military, guys, girls, whatever, both, and especially doing what I did, you have FOMO. Like, that's a big thing. Like, I'm out now, and I know my buddies are all going and doing cool stuff and getting cool missions and doing this. Like, oh, what are they doing? Whatever, but I think sometimes sometimes you got to realize, like, hey, this is my life. This is my box. Like, how can I make it better? I never had that, like, what am I doing type of moment. I did maybe reach a point where, and this was a big thing, was I reached a point, especially, my last place I was, stationed, was like, I've kind of done everything that I wanted to do. And I felt very fortunate that, I had some random injuries and, some things that aren't going to go away physically for me, but I could still play golf for the most part. Like, it could still, in one piece, if you will. And I was like, it's been a good run. I've also put my family through a lot of missed Christmases. Like, they know what I'm doing. And it's got to be stressful for my parents. So it's kind of at a point, like, they're not going to be here forever either. And I wanted to be able to spend some time with them and not be gone 280 days at a time a year. And I kind of didn't reach the point where I was like, what am I doing? But I was just right at the point, like, I feel comfortable with what I've given. I feel comfortable with where I'm at. And I would like I'd like to maybe segue into chasing some different goals. And golf for me was something that I kind of just quit cold turkey in a way. I played in college, and getting into more of the discipline of golf, like, I was totally undisciplined. I had absolutely no plan. It was driver all the time. It was fire at every flag. And it was
invincible, right?
It was, and no, just dumb, in a way. But it just no strategy, and it's very interesting because I quit golf like cold turkey. For 10 years, I didn't play. I didn't even really watch it. Like, sometimes I was deployed once, and the Masters was on, and kind of got into watching it. But I didn't play at all. Where I lived, when I lived in close to Fort Bragg, I lived in Southern Pines. There was a field right by my house, and I would take my dog down there, and I got into going and hitting some shots every now and then, just to mess around, just to do it. But I would say for 9.5 years, 10 years, I never touched the club completely. Like, that was turned off. And It was very, very interesting to get back into it and see how much golf has changed. And now people will sell you strategies, like teach you how to do strategies. And that was a bit, that was looking back at golf. I was like, dude, we would never go on target. We would never go on a mission. We would never go on a jump without plan A to Z, knowing exactly what we're doing. Disciplined work, disciplined priorities, measurable goals, or if you don't have a goal and you don't have any way to measure it, how do you know if you're succeeding or failing? And I was like, if I applied that to golf, like, let's see how far I could go. And I started hitting some shots. I'm like, no, I still, I'm not
still got it.
I'm not laying the sod over it. And I would go chip it. I started chipping and putting, and I'm like, okay, well, you can still do that. That's always been something I've been really good at. Kind of scrapped it around and could have a good short game. And then I kind of was like, you know what? I'm not too bad at this. Let's keep going. And one thing led to another, and here we are.
So I do have to ask, you mentioned Southern Pines, Fort Bragg. It's Southern Pines, Pinehurst is very near and dear to my heart. My parents have a place over at Pine Needles on the third tee box.
Cool.
So, when you mentioned that, it automatically brings memories back, when you're sitting in the house and Fort Bragg's practicing. We're about 30 minutes away from Fort Bragg and our house is shaking.
Yeah, artillery rounds or helos flying over all the time. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Different spot.
So you were living in Southern Pines?
Yes. Yeah.
So what golf course were you going to hit those shots?
I actually lived like right on the Aberdeen Southern Pines line. I would go out to Legacy golf links.
Yeah.
They're very pro military too, and their pro Sean was super cool when I kind of got more into it. We'll come out there and practice and play. That it's a really good place there, and you always have Pinehurst. Pinehurst is just this exceptional mecca of golf, where you've got a putting green out there that's bigger than most places, clubhouses, places to go chip and putt. I mean, it is the home of golf, and it was very weird for me because I lived there for 4 years before I even did much of that. I drive by it, like, oh, there's a golf course. And as I said, like, that part of me was kind of like turned off in a way, and it slowly got back to where we are now.
Yeah. So Legacy, I say the Legacy has probably the best finishing hole in all of Pinehurst.
Oh, Aberdeen. Yeah, it's a great finishing hole. There's so many good courses there.
And that golf course is a lot of fun. I went there a lot as a child, and now we play a lot at Mid Pines, Pine Needles. Now Pine Needles and Mid Pines purchased Southern Pines Golf Club, which, dude,
that's dynamite. So I played that course, and got my view of that course, and I noticed that they were clearing out some trees, and basically like, oh, they're doing some work. And a friend of mine played there and posted the first hole, and now they've got
it's insane.
It's wild. They got cleared those trees out, and it's got that Pinehursty vibe, or that Sandhills vibe, if you will. And,
right.
I've loved when I go up there a fair amount. I've still got a ton of friends, teammates up there that I try to get up there every now and then when I can. And I definitely want to go play that golf course and see how much it changed, because it was already a really cool course. Always in good shape and really.
They brought it back so much, man. It's going to be, I think, another 2 to 3 years when it can actually mature and kind of settle in. It's going to be dynamite.
Yeah.
So now that you're back into the game of golf, tell us a little bit about you turned pro, right?
Yeah, play soon as you play professional tournaments and say you're a pro, you're a pro. It's pretty funny, actually. Like I said, I've been back into it. This was a year and a half ago, whatever. I just started playing again and hitting balls and actually like, hey, I'm going to practice with a purpose. And I came down for the holidays, and I don't know if you guys know about the Moonlight Tour. That's in Florida. It's a Orlando-based mini tour, development tour that plays a ton of events, and especially in the winters, you get some, all the time, but especially in the winters, you have guys down from Q-School. It's like very good competition grounds to come play. And there was an event at West Orange Golf Club, and I was like, and they're pretty low entry fees. They have some 2-day tournaments that are a little more, but it's like $100, $120 to play. And you kind of just go out and see what you can do. It's usually a 1-day tournament. And I signed up for this tournament. Like, I played the course a long time ago. I was, let's just see what happens. And the first hole is like 525 yard or so, par 5. And I hadn't hit a shot in competition in over a decade. Yeah, over a decade. Hit my drive out there, and I have 227 into this hole, and the sun's in our face, can't really see. So I'm like, well, let's just hit a hybrid up there and get close. Hit this hybrid, hit it really good. Kind of thought it was in a bunker that kind of guarded the pin. Hit it good, whatever. Shocked to myself that I've now hit 2 good shots in a row. And walking up there, I'm playing with a dude named Chris Johnson, and I don't see my ball. And I thought it was in this bunker. Look, it's not the bunker. I start to walk around the back of the green. I'm like, oh, I don't see it. And Chris goes like, hey man, there's a pitch mark right by the hole. And I hold it. I had an albatross. The first hole I played in 10 years, canned it. -3, 3 under. And I was just like, it was very wild. Like there were these times I was like, what am I? You talk about like, what am I doing out here? I was like, let's see. And that was like things. There's not that much happenstance in the world. Like most of the stuff that we do day in, day out, like if it's our fault, good or bad. And I was just like, you know what? Like, yeah, let's keep going. And I shot the best, like I think I shot 73. So didn't quite close the round out. And that's where I'm at now is you've got to shake off rust from being, there's playing golf with your buddies. There's playing golf in money games. There's playing tournaments. They're all different. You've really got to train same as the military. You've got to train your mind to handle the situation, the the externals, more than just hitting the shot in golf and kind of handling your emotions and your expectations and things. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Played some Florida Pro Tour events in the winter. I wanted to play it to get the experience. And, shot a lot of 74s, 73, 75s, you can't go out there and work on your game. And I'm just now at a point where I can kind of go out and feel like I can keep it together.
Actually grind a little bit.
Yeah. And I had some stuff that, is very weird after even that long of a time. I still had some of the same tendencies and motor patterns and things in my golf swing materialize, and got with good coaching, and it's taken me a while. I'm finally getting to the point where I'm controlling the club face and actually hitting shots that are predictable. At that point, I wasn't hitting shots, or I didn't know who knows where it was going to go. Now I'm professional and going to play a bunch of tournaments leading up to Latin America or PGA Tour Latin America Q School.
So you're going to try the Latin America Q School?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had a good friend of ours actually from Pinehurst, Michael McGowan. His family owns Pine Needles Mid Pines. He played in the Latin American Tour for a couple years, and he was successful. And I think last year he was on the Corn Ferry for a little bit. So he said it's wild though. I mean, that it's a wild tour.
Well, and that's something that, Nick told me that was a good place to go. Jared Wolf was on my team in college. Okay. And, Jared and Nick both, got wins out there and leveraged success on that tour to get to the Corn Ferry Tour and the PGA Tour. And you talk about it being wild. I think that's something that's okay for me. Like I'm very comfortable being overseas, all those countries for the most part, don't hate us. So I'd be very comfortable going over to those places and be able to integrate in that environment and go play and not be weirded out by being overseas.
So you had 2 teammates on the Latin America tour that they each won, and they kind of gave you the advice to get to go to that tour.
Right. Yeah. Jared, played in college with Jared. Jared won out there. Nick went out there a couple times. They both won a couple times. And that's, that's the best place to get some status, which is huge. And to basically work your way up to playing on the Corn Ferry Tour. The Monday qualifier route is good. I think that it's good to play that. But from everyone that's talked to me, like do Q School, get your game ready for Q School, and do that. And where my game's at right now, I don't think I could have. I could show up with my B game and get through. Definitely not second stage. But I've looked at the scores and I played Mission Inn a fair amount. That's where the qualifier is. And I know that as long as I manage myself, like I could go out there and play well enough to at least get some status and get a start, get a place to start.
When is that round, Mark?
It's 4 rounds, and it's in November. It's in the middle, the middle of November. So it's kind of, it's not right around the corner, but it's coming up.
Got a couple months to get the game and honed in.
Yeah.
But, to your point, we've said this before on this podcast, and it's funny because for a lot of amateur golfers who haven't played tournament golf, they don't realize the difference between tournament golf and just going around playing with your buddies on a Saturday. And
wow, and once that pencil hits,
it's so different, but it's so addicting. Like it's the same thing, man. Like I love it. So I give you mad props for chasing that dream and being like, this is what I'm going to do. Especially like you said, you quit golf cold turkey. You hadn't touched a club in a decade, 8 years, and here you are right now back at it again, trying to chase that dream, and that's commendable. And that's what makes golf so beautiful.
Yeah, you can always come back and play it forever, and always come back to it. And it's very interesting to play golf now with the lens that I have on the views of things. And the pressure. Yeah. I will say that golf, like, still in a way, like, satiates that adrenaline, that pressure a little bit. It's just different, obviously. But it kind of like satiates that pressure you felt stepping off a helicopter in bad guy country, and and doing, it's obviously different, but in a way, you're always kind of battling yourself, if you will. And it was pretty interesting. Is like I said, I kind of got back into it and started off like, probably playing better than I did in some of those events I played, because at the time I started, I didn't have these expectations of myself to always be putting against how you play. And after taking that so much time off, like, yeah, you snipe one in the woods, like, well, yeah, I'm rusty, you're going to hit some weird ones, and then you play some more, and it's crazy how the mind kind of got back into how I was in college. Like, you 2 under through 4, and you hit a bad drive, go off, roll off some bogeys, and now you're back to grinding. Mm-hmm. And almost like kind of came back full circle now, where my game is a ton better than it was, and now I've got a little bit more clarity, and like, especially being around some world-class players day in, day out, and seeing that, yeah, they hit some good shots, and yeah, they hit some bad ones. It kind of really makes you realize, like, you're not always going to be at your best every day, but you can be your best at trying to get the most out of yourself.
Yeah, their recovery is where it's night and day, right? Yeah, they hit bad shots, but they can recover and get up and down from a garbage can.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I've always played like that. I've always hit it a little squirrely and scrapped it around, but grew up at a place where you had to be a really good wedge player, a good short game. And so that's always kind of been part of my DNA. It's like, okay, how do I hit this shot?
Yeah.
And go from there.
You think about it, very rarely, how many PGA Tour players, when you're watching them on TV, how many of them do you see make double bogeys?
Very
once.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, very, very rarely.
Very, very few.
I don't know if y'all watched the BMW at all, but last hole, Cantlay had a 1-shot lead, and he blew his drive into the bunker, right? And he's got a hook stance, and he's got a back right pin, and he's aimed left. He's going to hit this cut, and, we're thinking, is he trying to put it in the left bunker? And it's like, no, he's going to hit this cut. He's going to get it on the green. You just know that's what they're thinking, and they can execute so well, and he hits that cut out of that bunker.
Well, you watched the U.S. Amateur. That Ben Carr was 3 down with like 5 or 6 to play. They're on a par 5. Sam Bennett hits his second shot out of bounds on a par 5. And then Carr takes 3-wood out and hits his out of bounds. Like, yeah. Bud, you could chunk 5-iron down the right-hand side. You know what I mean? Like, things like that are the mistakes why the PGA Tour players are so good.
Exactly.
A PGA Tour player would never have hit 3-wood there knowing that his opponent was out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's, risk versus reward.
And that's being young, right? I mean, Ben Carr is 21 years old, and he's going to learn. He's going to know next time, you know what? I'm not going to hit 3-wood. I'm going to lay up.
A friend of mine played, I think, Q School, the pre-qual for Q School or first stage. I don't know which. I think it was pre-qual with a guy that had played, and he knew that he had to make, I think, bogey or better on the hole to get through. He knew it. And this dude hit 7-iron 7-iron on a short par 4. Got it up there and got it round. Like, it takes some discipline to be able to, like, guys are pulling driver 3-wood, be like, nope, 7-iron. And
that's why for you now, your bad rounds of golf after what you've put yourself through over the last 7-8 years, bad rounds of golf aren't that bad, right?
No, you have to really be careful not to let it like weigh on your day or weigh on your ego or whatever it is. Like, oh, I played bad, I hate, I'm gonna come home and kick my dog. Like, no, it's golf. Like, you're playing. I think Scott Fawcett was talking about how it's the one sport that's played on the biggest surface with the biggest amount of variables and all this thing. Like, you're going to have some weird stuff happen, and just kind of deal with it and go from there.
I'm going to ask you a question right now. What does golf mean to you?
I think just as much as I said, like, going through selection is like a test of yourself. Like, what do chips are down or it's tough. Like, what are you going to do? Golf's very, very reminiscent to me of that, or similar than that to me, because, you're always showing up and you've got the ability to go out there and torch it. You really have the ability to play, for the most part, at least mentally, mistake free. Can you see if you can do it? Can you kind of ride this train and keep the bowling ball between the gutters in a while? And I really love that golf is also a challenge to yourself, because you play bad, it's your fault. You play good, it's your fault. You can't, there's no like, this guy missed a pass in the third quarter and that's why we lost. So it's and you're always fighting your own ego. You're fighting your nerves. And for me, I've gotten better at. I was a nervous wreck in college. And like I said, it didn't matter where I was. If I had a bad hole, I'd have this meltdown, tank the round. And now I've got 5-footers and I'm like, no one's shooting at me. I can step anywhere and the ground is not going to explode. Like, I should be really happy to be here. And that's kind of what I'm trying to apply to not even golf. Just
I think we should all take that advice, man. Because there's a lot worse things in life than playing golf with your buddies on a beautiful, safe green ground. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And again, and we need to thank you, people like you and I know that a lot of the military guys don't like this kind of stuff just because they want to do this, but without people like you, we're not living that way. So
appreciate it.
Hats off.
We have it really good in America, and hopefully we can find a way to keep it that way.
That's right, man. Yep. We've never had anyone tell us we can't go play golf.
Yeah, exactly.
And amen to that. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be stoked to watch you on this endeavor, because I think it's really neat, especially with your background, going from what you did and now on this path of trying to play professionally. I mean, I think it's awesome. And more people should do things that they feel in their heart, no matter what. You should always do that.
Yeah, you've only got so much time. You might as well enjoy
So you
life.
play a lot in Florida. Where else do you play at all, Mark? I mean, do you ever get back to Illinois? I mean, Chicago has great courses.
I was in Southern Illinois. It was almost like a completely different state than Chicago. I'll go up there sometimes for family stuff to see my parents. But I'm not up there that often. As far as my schedule, I'm going to play some, obviously those Moonlight Tour events. Play some of those to get ready. Play some G Pro events, I think, down the road. But as of now, there's obviously a lot of tournaments in Florida over the winter. But I usually just play around in Florida. I'll go up to North Carolina every now and then. There's some mini tours up there. But
do they still have the Tar Heel Tour in North Carolina?
They do. I don't know if they call it the Tar Heel Tour anymore. There's the Carolina Mountain Tour. I've never played anything on that. There's the Coastal Players Tour. They play some really good courses. And I don't know about the Tar Heel Tour. I'm not sure. And it's, I got out when I left college golf, it was pretty much the Hooters Tour and that was it. Whereas now there's a lot more mini tours and a lot more places to play and kind of go. So like I said, golf's really changed.
Hooters has really good chicken wings, so.
Cold beer. Yeah. Well, I mean, we gotta link it up on the course, Mark.
Yeah,
I'd be honored to play with you.
So you guys, if you take a Florida trip, let me know, and we can get out to some places, and a lot of good courses around here, or even link up back in North Carolina, back at the home of golf in a way.
Let's do it.
That's actually probably going to be our best bet.
Yeah,
because we get down there quite a bit, and It's always a great time. So we'll have to keep you posted on that. But I think we're going to roll this bad boy into our last segment of the show, Mark, which is our tap-in segment. And my man Pepe here is going to ask you some questions that demand your quick-witted response.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Mark. All right. Lowest round and where?
Lowest round in a tournament or just playing around?
In general. It could be a tournament or playing around.
Lowest round was at Flora Country Club, where I grew up. 9-hole course with like greens the size of a pool table, super fast. I shot 60, and it was a par 70. Lowest round in the tournament is 61.
There you go.
Damn.
Let's go.
That's Chasin.
Well, you shot 61 in the front nine last week.
No, that's month, but all right.
Most memorable parachute jump.
Well, I had one that almost went really, really bad. That one's still etched in my memory. But probably most memorable parachute jump probably was when I was going through selection to go to a unit I ended up at in North Carolina. That final jump, like knowing like, hey, you're good, and pass all the jumps, it's nice to have that behind you and kind of check that box. So that was fun. We did do a jump on the beach at Sebastian in Florida when I was at Patrick at the Florida team. That was pretty cool. You know, extend aircraft and like you come in and basically land going down the beach. That was a pretty memorable. And so one of those besides the bad one.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about those.
No.
All right. The go-to music on the golf course.
I get it. You know what? I get into this with everybody. I listen to everything. I can listen to country. I'll listen to rap. I'll listen to rock. One of my buddies is a South African dude that is big into this DJ called Black Coffee. And he's been, I hadn't either. And it's just a really good DJ, and it's really good golf music. Like you're not going to be playing and having Pantera playing in the background. It's just not good for your brain. So I would say that, kind of little housey vibe, with that music's pretty good. Something that's chill. Reggae. I like reggae too. So
let me interject real quick. If you get on SoundCloud, you look up Big Booty Mix. It's all BPM mixes of like song. Like it's basically house music. I mean, but they mix them up. It plays for like 3 hours. Perfect for the course. So check it out on SoundCloud.
Big Booty Mix.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with big booties or rap or anything like that.
Ryan's like the one who put that out there.
Okay. Right.
Number one goal in life.
Not be 60, 70, 80 years old and look back and regret not following your drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's a good one.
Yeah. And that's back to, chasing. We're all chasing something in life. Doesn't matter if you play golf or not. Everyone's chasing a birdie in life, and we all need to do more of it. And Mark, we can't thank you enough for coming on, telling some stories. We're going to play golf in Pinehurst. We will tell you. It's going to be March, so we'll tell you the dates in March. Ryan, get it. You have his information.
Yep.
We'll reach out to him and peg it up.
Cool. We'll get a game in, man. That'll be fun.
That'll be fun. No, man, but like he said, thank you so much for coming on here, Chasin Birdies. I think this is great having you on. I really look forward to meeting and watching you on your endeavor right now, chasing those dreams.
Yeah. Well, once again, thanks again for having me. This was really, really cool to be allowed to come out here and talk to you guys. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. My man, thank you.
My oh my.
Wildness.
If that doesn't make you think about life a little bit and how lucky we are to live in this country, nothing will. People like that protect our country, and it's truly incredible. I mean, Mark, again, hats off to you. I know I said it in the intro, but I will say it again. Hats off. Everything about you. You're an American hero, and
And you're a golfer, and good luck.
And you're a golfer, and you're a good golfer, and we want to wish you luck on your chasing of birdies in life and on the golf course.
Mm-hmm. Amen, brother.
You know, right now, I'm going to go on a little rant. Okay?
Oh, boy.
I'm starting to get sick of the Live Tour. And you know, this past weekend, the event in Boston, we had Cam Smith, Harold Varner, Mark Leishman, Joaquin Niemann, and Cameron Tringali. Go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sick of this live stuff. I'm starting to get so sick of it. And like somebody like Cameron Tringali, yeah, bud, you should probably go. You haven't made a cut. You're not very good.
Well, I mean, he wears Nautica. Who the fuck wears Nautica?
So the others, what are you doing? Like Harold Varner, hey bud, you know, 2 years ago you're crying that you're making cuts and playing the PGA Tour and buying your mom John Deere tractors that she could never afford. Now all of a sudden the Live Tour is the answer. Let me tell you something. When the PGA Tour and all these majors tell these players you can't play in the major championships, you made a mistake, and you're not going to be allowed back in. So,
but I don't know if they...
Dude, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like Cam Smith, you aren't even at the peak of your game yet.
That one hurts.
You're just getting there.
That's my boy. He cashed in for me. Well, here's the thing, dude. Like Butch Harmon said recently in an interview, he's like, just say it's for the money. There's no doubt about it. This is life-changing, generational wealth money, period. There's no doubt about it. But when that thing crumbles, and these tournaments are so stupid, and no one's watching it, it's like,
go to YouTube.
What are you playing for? But I'm not going to YouTube. You think I'm going to go to YouTube and watch? If you're going to YouTube to watch a golf tournament, there's something wrong with the golf tournament, period. Now, granted, yeah, maybe a TV deal will come into place. I don't know, but the point being is I'm not watching. It's dumb. There's no competition. I mean, who wants to watch a team play each other in some weird-ass event? It's dumb. It's dumb.
But in reality,
competition's good. Competition's great. This whole idea of this notion of Live Tour, all they have is money, is stupid. We're not watching it.
But all they do, I mean, you think about it, bud. Yeah, you got your $200 million, okay? Great for you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Tiger said, what are you waking up for and practicing for? You're not going to practice. That's why the golf has not been very good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my man Mickelson, he's about combined 57 over par, and they paid him how much money to do this. That's a great RLI. The only reason they did that is because he had relationships on the PGA Tour, which blew up in his face with all the big names. And I'm starting to become more and more of a fan of Rory McIlroy for sticking his neck out there and stand up for the PGA Tour and what he believes in. So that was my little rant, boys. Disappointed in those guys. And Cameron Tringali, hopefully get some nicer clothes with that money, eh?
Yeah, we're not.
I'll tell you where you can get some nice clothes, boys. Up Nemacolin. They have their new stores there. They are incredible. We're getting closer and closer to October, which is my favorite month at Nemacolin. The fall leaves, pumpkin spice latte on the back patio. I'm by a little PSL on the back for the boys. Make sure you go to nemacolin.com, check them out, make a reservation for September, October, and December. We're also getting to the elf tuck-in. I love the elf comes to the room, tucks me in, reads me a little story. My kids get excited too when they see it. So nemacolin.com. And here's my question to you about Nemacolin, bud. Who's to say that Nemacolin doesn't throw their, and I'm not saying they are, but who's to say they don't throw their hat in the ring for a Live Tour event? Why not?
I mean, and you can't blame these.
Yeah. Seems like the Live Tour is going everywhere that the PGA Tour was. So.
Yeah, you can't blame them. Hey, who are we to say, judge, whatever? But yeah, I mean, it's still stupid. But again, I don't have $100 million like these cats do just for signing a piece of paper. So, at any rate, great episode today, and our next episode drop is phenomenal with Roger Steele. Look him up on Instagram. Roger Steele is a phenomenal golf influencer, tied in with Nike, tied in with Callaway. So we cannot wait to bring y'all this one on our next drop. And make sure you head on over to chasinbirdies.com. Check out some gear we have. New hats dropping. Got some great beanies for colder weather. And on Instagram, Chasin_birdies. Give us a like. Give us a share. Touch us. Whatever you want to do. my man, I just took your lines because you went on this rant. I'm trying to cool you down a little bit, but are we all good here?
We're all good, bud. Sorry I got both the guys.
That's all right, boys.
I don't judge you.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for listening.
And watching a fucking golf tournament.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Chasin Birdies. Thank you to Evo and your team over at Simpler Media for putting this together. And Rachel London, Jacqueline DiPaterio for all your social media help. You girls rock. And we'll see y'all on the next one.